the nouns. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to win the crown. I'm pissed off at these fucking clowns. You're on top, they deserve it now. It's only worth it if you work for it.
Yo, what is up? It is Mike De Niro. This is the All Elite Dirt Sheet, your AEW Dynasty, not Dynamite, but Dynasty post show. I am so excited to be here. Just got off the stream. Amazing post show. Shout out to everyone on the Circle Debate who just did a 4-hour watch along. If you didn't already, check that out. Shout out to the 18 people already appear in the chat. I'm so happy to be here tonight, even though we're going on almost 1 o'clock in the morning here in the East Coast. Still excited to talk about AEW Dynasty. Riding solo tonight, I will definitely be joined here by Tim King again on Wednesday. So make sure you check us out on the AEW Dynamite post show on Wednesday. But tonight we're talking about AEW Dynasty. Already got Brett in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, brother. AEW Dynasty was a great show, if you ask me. Now, I am excited to talk about it. But before we get into it, I got to say that it didn't quite reach the level of AEW Revolution did last month, which I thought was a hell of a freaking show, right? And I'm just baffled by AEW being able to keep this quality up. But this is what they do. AEW on pay-per-view constantly provides amazing wrestling. This is their bread and butter. No pun intended. We got unbuttered bread in the chat. But this is their bread and butter. AEW on pay-per-view is always going to hit home runs, right? Like I said, I don't think it got to the level of what we saw last month with Revolution, but we're going to talk about why. Nonetheless, it was a phenomenal show. Shout out to Benhausen in the chat. He says, Jesus, fuck, I'm getting ready to go to work. Well, hopefully you could check out the show and listen to it on your way to work. Have a good shift, homie. All right. AEW Dynasty, we are live in Vancouver, British Columbia, the Rogers Center. Let's talk a little bit about the opening show. Well, not the opening show, the 0 hour of the show. Shout out to Dershi Dan in here. Thank you so much. Interesting pay-per-view. Definitely, I agree. We're going to talk about it. So the 0 hour starts out with the return of Camille. We haven't seen Camille in 500 plus days. You know, we didn't know what was going on with Camille. There was a lot of talk of, is Camille still with AEW? Why isn't she being used from AEW? And we didn't get answers onto why she was out, but we did see her return here. So the show starts out with Willow Nightingale getting interviewed. She doesn't have a match scheduled for tonight, which is interesting. She's your TBS champion, but she doesn't have a match scheduled for tonight. But she was attacked by Camille out of nowhere, which right off the bat adds so much to this women's division. Camille is someone who was busting her ass on the indies before she came to AEW. She was doing phenomenal NWA. I loved her work with Nick Aldis before Nick Aldis got signed by the WWE. Camille is definitely a talented wrestler. When she came to AEW, I thought that it was going to be a little bit of a transitional period, as she was Mercedes Moné's like bodyguard for a little bit. She was like her muscle. But then after that, we seen the breakup between Mercedes and Camille. But then Camille was off TV for, like I said, 500 plus days. So it was very interesting to see her return tonight, but I'm glad she did. She attacks Willow. But not only does she attack Willow, but it is also announced that she has a matchup here on the 0 hour, which I was shocked by because that was an unannounced matchup. But I guess she's getting thrown right into the fire because not only is she back, but she's wrestling tonight in the 0 hour. First matchup of the 0 hour, it was Marina Shafir versus Alex Windsor. And this was a pretty good matchup. I got to say, Alex Windsor is really good, but Marina Shafir has really been growing on me. I said this last month at Revolution when she had her matchup with Toni Storm. I'm saying it here. Marina Shafir has grown leaps and bounds in the ring. I remember I was one of those guys that was really not interested in her at all. But I do feel like working with Moxley, working with the Death Riders, getting more in-ring time, getting more of a personality, Marina Shafir is really fitting into her own. And this matchup with Alex Windsor was a really good matchup. Alex Windsor picks up the victory here in the 0 hour. I don't know where this leaves Marina here. I was a little confused by the fact that Marina lost and she was like laughing and smiling. And I was just like, what's that about? But I don't know. Maybe they'll explain that a little more in the coming weeks. But Alex Windsor wins the matchup. One half of the Brawling Birds, trying to keep that tangent strong. Especially, we've been talking about, me and TK have been talking about how Alex Windsor and Gosh, I'm blanking. Wow, it's been a long night. This is what happens when the pay-per-view ends almost near midnight. But yeah, Jamie Hayter, Alex Windsor, and Jamie Hayter, the Brawling Birds. I think we got to keep them strong, especially going to the AEW All-In, going back to Wembley Stadium. Got to keep them strong because I definitely think that they're going to be picking up the women's tag team champions in their hometown. Let's see what Dirt Sheet Dan here had to say. He said, De Niro and TK both have a shot at the double titles at COD, WrestleMania, pay-per-view, official Dan Robinson. Yo, going for those tag titles for sure. And Butter says, we all feeling it. Dude, it has been a long night. That's what AEW does, but I am not complaining. Next up on the show, we have Camille in her in-ring return to AEW. She's going against Big Ann, and this was an absolute squash. I don't think this was needed. You know, I heard Justin talk about this on the watch-along, and I agree. I don't think this was necessarily needed. Having Camille return and taking out Willow Nightingale in the beginning of the show was cool enough in itself. I don't think she needs to have a squash match. This could have been saved for Dynamite. But they put it in here. I mean, I'm not mad at it. I'm very happy that Camille's back, but didn't think that we needed a 10-second squash match against Big Ann or whoever in the 0 hour. I mean, there's already so many matches on the show. You didn't need to cram in one more. But nonetheless, like I said, if it means that Camille's back, I'm for it. Whatever. Next up on the show, we have for the national champion, it is Jack Perry versus Dunkzilla, Dump Truck Mark Davis. And this was a phenomenal matchup. You know, I feel like Jack Perry works best when he has people who are outsizing him and he has to work from the bottom and find a way to win the matchup. And Dump Truck has just been fucking killing it. This dude's been taking everybody out. And I wouldn't have been mad if Mark Davis won the title here. I said in my predictions before they even announced this match on Collision, I said in my predictions that I wanted Mark Davis to be in that Battle Royal, the Casino Battle Royal Gauntlet matchup for the TNT title, and I wouldn't have been mad if he won the matchup. So when they announced that he's not in that matchup and instead he's going for the national champion, once again, I said I wouldn't be mad if he wins the title here against Jack Perry because the guy's been putting on bangers. He's been putting on phenomenal matches, and he definitely deserves gold. I don't know. I'm not mad that he lost this matchup because Jack Perry put on a hell of a performance, and it was a great, great matchup. But I wouldn't have been mad if Mark Davis gets the title. I think sooner or later, you got to reward him. I know he was the Trios champion like for a week before he lost it at Revolution, but definitely Mark Davis needs a reward for the hard work he's putting in. I think he needs a title. The guy has grown so much since he returned. I remember when he got injured and Kyle Fletcher really started taking off. I was to the belief that when Mark Davis came back, he was going to get lost in the shuffle. And guess what? He came back, and for a long time, he was lost in the shuffle. We saw him on Ring of Honor. We saw him having matches very sporadically on AEW Dynamite and Collision. But lately, Mark Davis has just been putting in that work, man. And he definitely has grown leaps and bounds. Like I said, he's got himself in really good shape. And I think that this guy is going to do great, great things for AEW. Maybe right now is not his time. Jack Perry and Mark Davis had a phenomenal matchup. And that's crazy when you have this caliber of matchup on the 0 hour because it really did deliver. This matchup definitely delivered. Let's see what the chat's saying. Brett says, I mean, yeah, they crammed it in, but was nothing but banger after banger after banger tonight. I totally agree. And couldn't agree more. Dude deserves something from the talent he showed tonight. Definitely. I think that there's a real upside for Mark Davis on AEW. And then we got the main event of the AEW 0 hour. It was for the AEW tag titles, the women's tag titles. It was Hyan and Maya World versus Divine Dominion. I'm not calling them that. You know what I call them. It was Mega Cross defending their titles here on the main event of 0 hour. And I got to be honest. I know I come here and I preach that I watch AEW all the time and I love AEW. And I try to watch as much of Ring of Honor as possible. And I think these two females were on Ring of Honor, but I wasn't too familiar with Hyan and Maya World. But I got to say, they actually did pretty well. They showed out. They had a great matchup with Divine Dominion. Divine Dominion, they played their role perfectly. These two women just went in there, and I think that they're going to have those tag titles for quite a while. They definitely show why they're dominant. They show why they're the tag champions right now. They put on a great matchup against Maya World and Hyan. And honestly, another matchup that really delivered here on the 0 Hour. This 0 Hour was stacked with bangers from top to bottom. And like I said, even though you threw in that squash match with Camille and Big Ann, I definitely think that the 0 Hour definitely set the table perfectly for what was to be a really good main card, which we're going to get into right now. Let's talk about AEW Dynasty, the main show, starting out with another tag team matchup. It is the Young Bucks versus the Don Callis family, a.k.a. the 96 Bulls, a.k.a. Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. It is the Young Bucks versus Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. This was a very good matchup. Second month in a row where the Young Bucks are in a banger tag match to open up the pay-per-view. This delivered so well. And I love the story that they told within the matchup, because not only did you have a phenomenal matchup, crazy intense action, but you have the story of the breakup of the Don Callis family. You have the story of the dissension of Okada and Takeshita, which we've seen a lot of last year. It looked like it was going to hit a peak. Then we started to bring it down a little bit. And now it is back to where these two are at each other's throats. And that dissension is what cost them the matchup. Not only did we see Okada hit Takeshita hit Okada accidentally, but at the end, Takeshita was just like, fuck it, I am done. He had an opportunity to stop Nick Jackson from hitting the Meltzer driver onto Okada. He grabbed Nick Jackson's leg, and then he said, you know what? Have at it. He released the leg. Nick Jackson's like, all right, whatever. Hits the Meltzer driver. The Young Bucks pick up the victory, and Takeshita, he makes it known that he wants Okada's international champion. He's going to be coming for that belt. And I'm all for it. I think that this storyline has been playing out for quite a while. I just want to see it peak already, because I think that these two need to be in the ring. They need to be feuding. I understand the whole Don Callis family dynamic. I understand that Don Callis wants them to work together, but we've been doing this dog and pony show for quite a while. Let's get to it. Takeshita is a babyface. The man shook hands with Jon Moxley. The man is beloved by the crowd. The man should be a babyface going against Okada, and I think that's what we're finally going to get. So I'm with it. Shout out to Dylan from World Elite. What is up, brother? He says, De Niro was good. Stoked to have you on Tuesday. I am so excited to make my World Elite debut on Tuesday. So thank you so much. Fun show tonight. I think Revolution was better, but still overall great one for Dynasty as well. Definitely, I said that too. I don't think it quite reached Revolution levels, but I think this was a great show nonetheless. So yeah, opener, phenomenal matchup. Young Bucks win. They keep them strong. The Young Bucks, who are probably going to be getting another tag title shot, whether that's a three-way with FTR and Cope and Cage. We'll talk about them later on. Very confusing ending, but Young Bucks stay strong on the show here, and it is building for Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita, which I am all for 100%. Great opener. Next matchup, we have Chris Jericho in his first match in, like a year and a half. Jericho hasn't been seen in the ring since 2024. So Chris Jericho versus Ricochet. And this, honestly, I don't even care if I get shit at this. I know a lot of people are so decisive right now. They are indecisive, I should say. A lot of people are on the fence whether Chris Jericho should be wrestling anymore. Should he be in AEW? Should he go to WWE and have his swan song and go into the Hall of Fame? Everybody is so indecisive with Chris Jericho, but the one thing I got to say is Chris Jericho came with his wrestling boots on, and he had a great matchup. Now, I don't know if, Chris Jericho being away for so long, if distance makes the heart grow fonder, they say, but Chris Jericho really impressed me, which I know he's a legend. It's weird to say that I was impressed by Chris Jericho because the guy's been wrestling for the last 35 years. Of course, I'm impressed by Chris Jericho. But Chris Jericho in his final run or his last run with AEW, the whole learning tree shit got really boring really fast. I did not want to see it. It was just really hard to sit through. A lot of those segments felt so forced, and I was kind of done with Chris Jericho in AEW. I was actually excited for the rumors of him possibly going back to WWE. I was like, all right, cool. Something fresh for Chris Jericho. Let him go off to WWE, go into the Hall of Fame, possibly retire, have Gunther beat him, what they do over there in WWE. Thought that was the route that they were taking. Chris Jericho comes back. I said, I am excited to see where this goes. And then he has this matchup with Ricochet announced last week. This matchup was very, very good. Now, Chris Jericho looked like he was in shape. He looked motivated. He was hitting lion salts like picture perfect, Frankensteiners. The spot where Ricochet goes up for the shooting star and Chris Jericho catches Ricochet with the code breaker was absolutely insane. I don't think people understand the type of precision and timing that move takes. Insane. Chris Jericho looks like there's not a bit of rust on him. Chris Jericho looks like he didn't miss a beat. Ricochet was the perfect dancing partner for Chris Jericho in his first match because Ricochet was bumping around like crazy. But in the end, I was wrong for my prediction, what I said on Wednesday. I said there is no way in hell Chris Jericho comes back to the company and his first match back, he loses. I was wrong. But I am not mad because Ricochet showed out. He had a great showing as well. But Chris Jericho losing not only elevates Ricochet. Ricochet getting a victory over a legend like Chris Jericho is a big, big deal. Whether you like Ricochet or not, this is a big deal for Ricochet and Ricochet's career. But also, with Chris Jericho just coming back, Chris Jericho signing a new contract, where do they go with Jericho? Him losing to Ricochet? What's next? Where do we go with Jericho? How does he pick himself up after this loss to Ricochet? You have a guy who's been away for over a year, gets a lot of fanfare, returns to a lot of buzz and hype, and he loses in his first match. Whether he looked good or not in there, nonetheless, he lost in his first match. What is next for Jericho? It got me intrigued. I'm intrigued to see where they go with him on Wednesday. I don't know, but this was definitely an unexpected victory for Ricochet. But I do think that it's going to do a lot of wonders for Ricochet, getting a victory over a legend like Jericho. Next up on the show, we have Andrade versus Darby Allin. This was a very fun matchup. I got to say, I've been saying it weekly, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but Andrade is the guy right now. The man is charismatic as hell. The man has the aura about him. He's aura farming like hell. The guy is a baby face. And I think we're going to go that route. We'll talk about the ending of the matchup afterwards. But the guy is loved by the crowd. I've never seen Andrade this good. It's like he has reached his final form. All my Dragon Ball fans out there, Scatter Vision, we do this, right? He has reached his final form. This guy is connecting on all basis. He's definitely putting in work better than he's ever done before. And I think that he is a true star here in AEW. Moving back to AEW has been the best thing that Andrade has done in his career because he has been given the ball and he's running with it right now. Nonetheless, going into this matchup, the way they've been building Darby Allin, week in and week out, Darby's calling out the champion. Darby wants a title shot week in and week out. It was inevitable for Darby Allin to win this matchup. I wouldn't have been mad if there was a surprise victory from Andrade. I've been saying that I want to see Andrade versus MJF. We see that Andrade is having difficulties with the Don Callis family for wanting to work with MJF. So I thought that was a story that would be fresh because we've seen Darby and MJF. It would be fresh to see Andrade versus MJF. We haven't seen that before. Nonetheless, after what was a phenomenal showing by both men, insane action. There was one spot where they were into the crowd and they were on the steps and freaking Darby Allin does a jumping drop kick and lands spine first on the steps. And he has a nasty bruise on his back for the rest of the matchup. Insane, right? Like Brett here says, the Darby match was amazing. Energy was crazy. Crowd was going crazy. Darby Allin picks up the victory. He is now your number one contender. Later in the night, Darby Allin announces since AEW is going to be in Washington this Wednesday, he wants his title shot this Wednesday. I thought that this was going to lead to a title shot at Double or Nothing. I am wrong. Maybe they get a rematch, Double or Nothing. I don't know where they're going to go with that. But Darby Allin is going to be wrestling for the world title this Wednesday on Dynamite in Washington for spring break or spring breakthrough. Anyway, Darby Allin wins the matchup. What was very telling after the matchup was Andrade shook the hand of Darby Allin after the matchup, further solidifying what I say when I say that he is going to be turning babyface. He is going to be breaking away from the Don Callis family. Darby Allin and Andrade embrace each other. Even though that Andrade ripped the pants off during the matchup and his wrestling tights was very, very tight and very small. Regardless, Andrade shakes the hand of Darby Allin. I think that this is going to be a step in the right direction of Andrade turning babyface, breaking away from the Don Callis family. The Don Callis family and Andrade don't need each other right now. Andrade is super over with the crowd. He's doing amazing work. He needs to do his own thing and go on his own path. He does not need to be with Don Callis. Andrade and Darby Allin, phenomenal matchup on the show. Next matchup is for the AEW Tag Team titles. It was one of the matches that I was really looking forward to going into the show. It is FTR versus the in-ring return of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. This was a really good matchup. The intensity was there. It was exactly where it needed to be. With the drama of FTR hitting the pile driver on Beth Phoenix months back, taking out Christian Cage, Edge having to take time off. Well, Copeland having to take time off. And then coming back, building up the story, building up the intensity, building up the drama. This matchup definitely delivered with the high intensity. It definitely delivered with the action. I got to say, these guys were really beating the shit out of each other out there. Copeland gets bloodied up during the matchup. The one thing I did not like, there was a lot of interference by Stokely. Now, I understand the story. I understand Stokely's playing his part. I understand that, but like for continuity purposes, I've seen Stokely get ejected for less in past matches for FTR. This was not a no DQ matchup. We've seen Stokely and other managers get ejected for less. Stokely was literally in the ring getting, involved like every 2-3 minutes, and he played his part, especially when Christian Cage threw Stokely into the ring to break up a pin. I thought that was pretty innovative. He played his role, but he definitely was taken away from what was a really good matchup. And I understand that that's probably where they're going to find the story to continue the feud. Stokely was getting involved a lot, blah, blah, blah. You had the belt shot from Cash Wheeler onto Adam Copeland. You had the chair shots onto Christian Cage by Stokely. So I understand that that's probably going to be the out that they take for a rematch for this matchup. But nonetheless, there was a lot of interference here. And shockingly, I thought, being in Canada, we were definitely going to get a tag team title change here. Shockingly, that did not happen. We have instead FTR retaining the titles over Copeland and Cage. Like I said, they have the out of going to Double or Nothing and rematching for the tag titles with maybe Stokely's banned from ringside or, anything goes, or maybe Beth Phoenix comes back and it's like Beth is on the outside she's going to be the equalizer for Stokely Hathaway to even the odds. But nonetheless, good matchup. I love the little callbacks to past matches with past feuds, I would say, with Cope and Cage hitting the 3D. I thought that was pretty cool. Really cool spots, like the way the match ended, the sunset flip from Cash onto Copeland that led to a shatter machine. Really, really fun matchup, like I said, but it just felt weird because I thought that for sure Cope and Cage was going to win the titles here. I like FTR. I'm not an FTR hater, but I do think that we need something fresh for that tag team division. It was very stale for a little bit until we saw them in the Bucks last month and then them in Copeland and Cage this month. But nonetheless, we still have FTR as your tag team champions. And I do think we have the out for a rematch because of Stokely interfering like 1,000 times during the matchup. Lots of drama, though. I gotta say, there's a lot of drama. Next matchup is the Casino Battle Royal for the TNT champion. And this was a lot of fun. A lot of hard-hitting action in this. We had a lot of talent in this. It was a lot of talented wrestlers in this. No, I wouldn't say any surprises, but I don't think you need surprises. I don't think you always need surprises in a Gauntlet match or a Battle Royal match to be good. I feel like we got very spoiled from past Royal Rumbles of surprise entrants where everyone's like expecting a surprise in every one of these, Battle Royal matches. AEW constantly put surprises in their Battle Royals in the past, but here we did not need a Battle Royal surprise. This was a very good matchup nonetheless. Before we get into it, let's get into it. I had to take a sip there. First entrance was Tommaso Ciampa, who earned that spot to be the number one entrant on Dynamite. He's going against the guy who earned the spot to be the number 2 entrant on Collision, and that is Rush. And Rush and Tommaso Ciampa didn't know I needed this as much as I needed it until they were in the ring and they were beating the shit out of each other. These guys were chopping the holy hell out of each other. My chest was hurting watching some of those chops by Rush. These guys were so intense, insane action here. A lot of hard-hitting moves here by both men. And yeah, man, like they were chopping the hell out of each other. Number 2 was Bandito, who got a huge pop in Vancouver. Seeing Bandito mix it up with Ciampa was really cool. Seeing Bandito mix it up with Rush is always awesome. Bandito and Rush have a lot of history stemming all the way back to Ring of Honor. Some matches in CMLL. Really, really cool to see Rush and Bandito mix it up here. Number 4 was Speedball Mike Bailey, who we should mention that last night at Collision, Speedball, Kevin Knight, and Mystico lost the titles, the trios titles, to the Dogs. So they are no longer trios champions. Speedball coming here looking to get a new belt for the TNT champion. Speedball had a lot of cool moves and showed out really well on this matchup as well. Shout out to Brian Cook in the chat. Says Ciampa and Rush could open up a butcher shop to put them chops. I 100% agree, man. Thank you so much for being here, bro. So yeah, Speedball did really well. Number 5 was El Clone. I've been saying it also. El Clone has been someone who has been putting on really good matches. He's very innovative. He has a very unique style in there. Some of his transitions into other moves are stuff that I've never seen before. Even like what they called out, like Bryan Danielson called it out on the matchup too. He did like a cartwheel into had the guy's arms butterflied and cartwheeled out of it. Like there's stuff that I've never seen before that El Clone does. And it's just very innovative. I always have fun seeing El Clone. Number 6 is Pac. Pac looked like $1 million out there. I love his new ring gear. I love he went back to the trunks, growing the hair back out. Dude, Pac is money. And I wouldn't have been mad if Pac won this matchup. I think that Pac does deserve a title, but this was a really good showing from Pac as well. But like I said, seeing Pac mix it up with Ciampa, seeing Pac mix it up with Rush, seeing Pac mix it up with Speedball. This was a very, very, very cool matchup to have a lot of cool, interactions by wrestlers that don't usually interact with each other. Number 7 was Daniel Garcia. So we're getting a lot of representation from the Death Riders in here. Daniel Garcia was teaming up a lot with Pac. There was a lot of double team moves between Daniel Garcia and Pac to the likes of Speedball, to the likes of El Clone, and to Bandito. Number 8 was Anthony Bowens, who could have been number 2. He lost the matchup to Rush on Collision last night. Anthony Bowens and Rush had some good interactions in this matchup as well. Bowens has been really impressing me. I mean, I've always been impressed with Bowens, but I feel like he's another guy who's very talented, gets lost in the shuffle a lot. It's not because of a lack of talent. He's just, there's so much talent that you do have that a guy like Bowens gets lost in the shuffle. I know that they're still doing this whole storyline where Anthony Bowens is trying to impress Hook to be a part of the Ops. But right now, what are the Ops doing? Like you're trying to impress the Ops, and the Ops are barely on TV. I know they're on Collision once in a while, but it's like we haven't really given a reason why we should be out here trying to impress Hook. Like Bowens should just be out here trying to put on bangers, and he is. This was a good show for Anthony Bowens as well. Number 9 was Kevin Knight. Once again, last night lost the trios title. Really cool to see the Jet in this matchup. And I was very happy with the results of this matchup. But before we get there, I'm going to talk about the other entrances. But Kevin Knight, dude, oozing charisma, oozing talent. The guy is super young, and there is so much upside for Kevin Knight. I love Kevin Knight right now, and I think he's going to go very, very far in this company and in professional wrestling. But there was just insane action. This is the point of the matchup where, there was a bunch of dives to the outside. You had Pac hit a Black Arrow to the outside. I think you had Tommaso Ciampa hit a suplex onto Kevin Knight to the outside, taking out like a whole pile of people. Number 10 was Wheeler Yuta. So now we have 3 guys from the Death Riders, and we're going to be stopping at 10. 10 entrants in this Casino Battle Royal. We would have had more if the matchup would have gone on, but this is where the matchup ended, because in the end, we had Daniel Garcia put the Dragon Tamer onto Speedball Mike Bailey. And then out of nowhere, Kevin Knight hits that beautiful frog splash where he changes directions midair. And then 1, 2, 3, he pins Daniel Garcia, and Kevin Knight is officially your AEW TNT champion. Now, I understand they probably took off the trios titles from these guys so Kevin Knight could win the championship. It did not look like Speedball was too happy, though. Speedball was a little disappointed. This was every man for themselves. And yeah, they embraced each other when Kevin Knight came out, but it did not look like Speedball was too happy that Kevin Knight won the matchup and he didn't. So I wonder if we're going to go down the road of dissension between them. I think that they had a matchup during the Continental Classic in December, and I would love to see them run that back. But Kevin Knight, TK and I have been saying it on the show week in and week out. Kevin Knight's upside is insane, super young, and I'm so glad to see that they gave him the TNT champion. I think he's really going to run with this. Kevin Knight could be a super cool heel or a super cool babyface, I should say, or a very cocky heel. The guy oozes swag. I think he's really going to fall into his own and really get more comfortable with his promos and his character. I think that he's going to be a really good shining spot for AEW, and I want to see him hold his title. We've seen a lot of gold going flipping flopping, especially with the trios titles. We had Kevin Knight win the trios titles with Hangman, to lose it a couple weeks later to the Don Callis family, to win it with Mystico a week after that, to lose it less than a month later to the Dogs. So now he is a singles champion. Let's let him sit with it. Let's let him have a nice lengthy run and really let him develop, because I think that Kevin Knight, once he develops, is going to be a top star in AEW. Next up, we have the AEW Women's World Championship matchup. It is Thekla versus Jamie Hayter. This was a very good matchup. The chemistry between Jamie Hayter and Thekla is insane. I said it the first time they wrestled on Dynamite. I think that was they had a matchup about, I think in January. And I remember mentioning it there that these two women were made for each other. They are made for each other. They have such great action and such great matches with each other. I don't know if they fought each other in Stardom before. I know they both were in Stardom, but nonetheless, this was a great matchup. A lot of insane action. Thekla is still your champion. I think that Thekla holds on to this title. I know a lot of people are predicting that Mercedes Moné will come back as a babyface. I could see Thekla versus Mercedes going down. I think you probably hold off, right? I mean, if I'm Mercedes, that's a caliber of matchup that you would put at All In. You'd probably hold off on that. I don't know if she comes back too soon. But Thekla has really grown on me. I've been saying it week in and week out. Thekla as women's champion was something I wasn't too sure about. When they took the title off of Statlander, I was a little confused. I was like, all right, let's see what Thekla could do. I'm going to give it a chance. But since I gave it a chance, I was glad I gave it a chance, because Thekla has really grown in, well, I'm not too familiar with her Stardom work. I'm not going to act like I am. She could have been doing all this shit in Stardom, and I probably would have known. I know she was in Stardom. I know she was a star in Stardom. So she's doing amazing work here now in AEW. With the Sisters of Sin, I think that this was a great pickup from AEW, a real money pickup that goes under the radar. But look what she's doing here now as your women's champion. There's a lot of legs on this title run. Maybe 8 legs. She's a toxic spider. There's a lot of legs on this title run, and I would like to see her continue this title run, because Thekla has been really doing well. She just made it out. She grabbed the ropes to get the leverage to win the matchup here against Jamie Hayter. So I don't know if we see a rematch here, but still, nonetheless, I'm glad that Thekla won the matchup. Next up, we have for the AEW Continental Champion, Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. What can I say about this matchup, man? 2 seconds into the bell ringing, Will Ospreay takes Moxley's head off with a devastating hidden blade. And then he hits another hidden blade. And he probably could have got the victory there, because Moxley looked out of it. Moxley looked like he didn't know where he was. He probably could have got the victory there, but the fact that Will Ospreay wanted the ultimate revenge on Jon Moxley. He didn't want to win that title. He didn't want to just win the matchup. He wanted to break Moxley's neck like Moxley did to him. But that ultimate revenge that he was seeking was his downfall, because once Moxley got back up, shit got brutal. We've seen crazy spots by both men. We've seen multiple hidden blades by Will Ospreay. Jon Moxley was hitting some crazy moves onto Will Ospreay. Crazy moves on anybody who would have, I think this would have been insane to hit these type of moves on anybody who just came back from double neck fusion surgery. but Jon Moxley was hitting some sick ass moves. There was a pile driver onto the steel steps. He hit about I think 4 or 5 paradigm shifts, and then finally hits the Death Rider for the 1-2-3 victory at the end. Jon Moxley wins the matchup clean. Where do they go here with Moxley and Ospreay? Is Ospreay going to be taking time off? We saw that Ospreay needed help to the back. Is he going to be taking time off? Did he come back too soon? Who knows? But Jon Moxley is still your Continental Champion. Where do you go with Mox here? I mean, who else is there for Mox to beat? Mox beat Takeshita. Mox beat Okada. Mox beat... Now he beat Will Ospreay. He beats people weekly on a weekend and week out. Who's next for Moxley? Or do we see this feud continue? Now, of course, this is not the end of Ospreay versus Mox. I could see this going down at... Maybe he's off for Double or Nothing, but I could see him coming back with the United Empire at Forbidden Door. Maybe we get Forbidden Door United Empire versus the Death Riders again there. I don't know, but the way Mox won, I think you got to take some time off. I know he just came back, but gosh, you guys, the guy had double neck fusion surgery. He's taking pile drivers to the steel steps. He's taken 5 Death Riders. This was a crazy, crazy matchup, a hell of a matchup. So much action, not only in this matchup, but on this show. Really, 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 really fun action. And I'm just surprised that Moxley is still your Continental Champion after this matchup. Next up, we have for the AEW Trios Champions, it is the Dogs versus the Conglomeration, who was comprised of Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy, and a mystery partner. And surprise, surprise, the mystery partner is Vancouver's hometown guy, and that is the return of Kyle O'Reilly, who we haven't seen in AEW since Full Gear. Since he had that matchup with Jon Moxley, he had to take some time off. And I think he, what was that, November? So he had to take some time off, going through a lot of personal stuff as well. I know his father just passed away, so condolences to Kyle O'Reilly. Really cool to see Kyle back. I've always been a big Kyle O'Reilly fan. Been watching Kyle O'Reilly since the Ring of Honor days when he was in Future Shock with Adam Cole. Was actually there live for a lot of Kyle O'Reilly's biggest moments in Ring of Honor, from that matchup he had with Adam Cole at Best in the World 2012 to him winning the Ring of Honor World Champion against Adam Cole in the Hammerstein Ballroom. I always been a big fan of Kyle O'Reilly. Really cool to see him back here. The Dogs, like I said, we should mention, won the Trios titles last night on Collision. And this, I'm just going to, before I talk about the matchup, I'm going to talk about the ending, if that makes any sense. The Dogs won the titles 24 hours ago, and the Dogs lost the titles 24 hours later. I love the Dogs. I've been saying it all the time that they got to keep the Dogs strong. I thought that the pickup of David Finlay was a huge pickup for AEW. I thought that Clark Connors has really grown on me. He's a really good star, and Gabe Kidd has been putting on great matches with the likes of Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy. I thought that this was a really cool opportunity for the Dogs when they won these trios titles. Very confused why we had to drop the title so soon. I understand Kyle O'Reilly's back. Kyle O'Reilly did not need to take the pin. You could have had Kyle O'Reilly and the Conglomeration take the loss here, but I don't know. It was a really good matchup. Like I said, really fun to see Kyle back. Really cool, innovative action by all 6 men here. The Dogs work so well together, as does Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy. I love their little double team moves of Roderick Strong just tossing Orange Cassidy around. I like the spot where Orange Cassidy looked like he was going to hit a top rope elbow. Then he walks all the way down and just like hits it from the ring. I just was very confused. Like, why put the titles on the Dogs just for them to lose it 24 hours later? I understand the logic of the Dogs needed the titles because you had to take it off of Kevin Knight so Kevin Knight could win the TNT champion. I just don't think the Dogs are I don't know. I don't think that they should have been transitional champions like this. Not even transitional. Gosh, they didn't even get a day with it. They barely got 24 hours with the titles. It's insane. But nonetheless, we got new champs, new trios titles, new trios champs. It is the Conglomeration, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Orange Cassidy. I'm confused. I'm confused by the finish of the matchup. I'm confused by the results of the matchup. But nonetheless, I am a fan of all 6 men. Like I said, big fan of Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy, big fan of the dogs. I just don't know why bring the dogs in if you're going to do this type of booking with them. I've been saying it since they came in and they started their like trios run. You had them win one week, they lost another week, and they won at the pay-per-view, and then they lost again, and then they won the titles, and now they lose at this pay-per-view. A lot of 50-50 booking, a lot of start and stop pushing for the dogs, and they only been here for, less than 2 months? They only been a trios tangent for less than 2 months, and there's already so much start and stop booking. At this point, I don't even think the dogs should be a trios contending team. I think that at this point, let's try something different. Put Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd as the tag team. Give Dave Finlay a singles run, because we already see there's already 50-50 booking with the trios tangent of the dogs. I don't know. I don't know where this leads to, but right now I feel like they're killing off the dogs. I don't know. I was very excited to hear that they won the trios titles, and I thought that it was pretty much a given that after they won it last night, going into the pay-per-view, even if this was Kyle O'Reilly, I think we already predicted it to be Kyle O'Reilly. But going into this pay-per-view, I thought that from last night's result, the dogs were going to retain the trios titles. It shows that anything can happen. It shows that it's very unpredictable in AEW. And I like that anything can happen aspect to the show. But nonetheless, very confused by the 24-hour reign of the dogs. And why are we even, why are the dogs even here if you're going to be undecisive if you want to push them or not? I don't know what's next for them. Let's see what's next for them before I even give my final decision if the dogs belong here or not. Main event time. Let's talk about the main event. MJF versus Kenny Omega, the devil versus the god of professional wrestling. We really played up on that tonight, did we? We had the very demonic entrance of MJF with coming from the depths of hell, the upside down crosses, the 666. He had the Undertaker Ministry of Darkness looking robe as he walked to the ring. Kenny Omega got the angelic one-wing angel, godly clouds and bright lights entrance for Kenny Omega. I really love that they both had special entrances. I really love that they had these big over-the-top entrances, because this is a big over-the-top matchup. The last time we seen Kenny Omega and MJF, it was on Collision in 2023. Kenny Omega was about weeks away from having to step away from injuries and the diverticulitis. MJF had to step away from injuries as well. MJF was not, 100%. He was banged up. And right after this, I believe he had his matchup with Samoa Joe at World's End, where he lost the title. That was only about a few weeks after the matchup with Kenny Omega and Collision. So the last time we saw this matchup, these two guys were not 100% by a long shot. But Kenny Omega and MJF still had a phenomenal matchup on Collision. In my opinion, one of the best Collision matches is MJF versus Kenny Omega. And if you could do that where both men are not 100%, going into this matchup where Kenny Omega says he's better than he's ever been. He feels better than he's been in a long time. And you got MJF who's 100% and firing on all cylinders. You knew this was going to be a banger. And they did not disappoint at all. This was a great, great main event. Hands down. The chemistry between these two, just like I said about Thekla and Jamie Hayter, I think even to a higher degree here, the chemistry between Omega and MJF, it felt like these two guys were made for each other. Kenny Omega had a great, great showing. Some of those V-triggers that Kenny Omega hit on MJF, and MJF survived. How? Insane. It is important to mention before the matchup, referee Bryce Rensburg, he went and he told MJF to give him the Dynamite Diamond ring. He knows that MJF keeps it in his trunks. So he wanted MJF to hand over the Dynamite Diamond ring. So that was not a factor until later on in the matchup, where there was a ref bump. Kenny Omega hits a one-wing angel onto, he hits the, not one-wing angel, he hits a V-trigger and misses MJF. He hits Bryce Rensburg. MJF then lows blows Kenny Omega, goes into Rensburg's his pocket, and he pulls out the Dynamite Diamond Ring, nails Kenny Omega. 1-2, no win. Kenny Omega hits the One Wing Angel. We have a new referee. Paul Turner comes out, and he is just a couple seconds too late. We have MJF kick out. And then MJF wins the matchup by hitting a tombstone through a table. Well, first he hit a gut punch to Kenny Omega in the injured guts, because Kenny Omega had the diverticulitis, into the injured guts with the Dynamite Dynamite Ring. He hits the tombstone through a table. Then he hits the Heat Seeker into the ring. 1, 2, 3. MJF is still your champion. But like I said, some of this action that we've seen here was insane. The V triggers to MJF were absolutely nuts. Kenny Omega hit a One Wing Angel from the second rope. We've seen just crazy, insane action. Did this matchup live up to the hype? Yes. Did this matchup exceed expectations? Yes. Was this better than your Collision matchup in 2023? 100%. This was a great main event. MJF is still your champion. And now MJF has Darby Allin right in front of him, going for a title shot on Wednesday in Washington. So, yeah, I mean, where do we go with Kenny? I thought that for sure Kenny was going to lose this matchup, especially with the ref bump. I thought that we were going to see an interference by Swerve. I'm very confused by the fact that we didn't see Swerve, because we talked about it on the show here. Swerve lost the matchup with Kenny Omega, and he just walks away. And then we haven't seen Swerve in weeks. So I thought that's leading to Swerve hitting, Swerve interfering in this matchup and taking out Kenny Omega, which will lead to the victory for MJF. That did not happen. Instead, no Swerve, no interference, dirty tactics by MJF 100%. We did get the ref bump, but MJF is still your champion. Show goes off the air with MJF throwing up the devil horns like he did when he defeated Hangman Page at Revolution, and then descends back into hell. He is the devil, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and that's how we go off the air. MJF is still your champion. Kenny Omega is laid out in the ring, and now we are on a collision course, no pun intended, to AEW Dynamite this Wednesday, where Darby Allin is standing in the wake of this matchup and wants a title shot against MJF. Fun show. 100% a fun show. Like I said, did it live up to Revolution? Not at all. Not at all. Was it close? Yes. Revolution was a phenomenal pay-per-view. I mean, Revolution, we said, was probably the best AEW pay-per-view of all time. I know Tim agreed with me. I know Ivan agreed with me when we had Ivan on. This was the best showing that AEW had on pay-per-view, and AEW always has great pay-per-views. So for them to then turn around and try to one-up that, this was a great effort, but unable to touch Revolution status. What am I giving this show? I gave Revolution a perfect 5 out of 5 last time. What am I giving Dynasty? I got to go with a strong 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 for sure. Fun action, great action, storyline progression, stories being told. Just for I would say a few of the matches, confusing outcomes. Trio styles being dropped by the dogs after 24 hours. Confused. Copeland and Cage losing the matchup to FTR. Confused. I thought that for sure. Copeland, Cage, Canada, you in the matchup. You progress it. FTR gets their rematch up. You have the Young Bucks interfere, or you have the Young Bucks somehow in it. We get our triple threat TLC matchup that we've been predicting. Not going to happen right now, because we don't even know how we're going to get to Cope and Cage getting another title shot. Nonetheless, FTR still your champions. Confused by that. But from top to bottom, 0 hour all the way to the main event. Very fun show. Let's see this. Ryan Armstrong, thank you so much for being here. Says, announced on AEW Dynasty Media Scrum, Claudio versus Kevin Knight for the AEW TNT title on Dynamite on Wednesday. Thank you very much. That's going to be a phenomenal matchup. Claudio and Kevin Knight is going to be so much fun. I know that they had matches before. I believe there was a matchup between them on Collision. There was really good chemistry between them. Really excited for that one. Thank you so much, Ryan. So yeah, 4 out of 5. What's next? What's next for Jericho? We said we didn't see him losing. He lost. What's next for Cope and Cage? We didn't see them losing. They lost. What's next for Kenny Omega? What's next for Swerve Strickland? Swerve Strickland, who was surprised that he had nothing to do with this pay-per-view. I thought for sure, 100%, Swerve Strickland, one of their biggest stars, was going to interfere in this matchup with Kenny. Did not happen. What's next for Swerve? I don't know. But I am not angry that I don't know. I'm excited to see where they go with things. So I'm excited for Wednesday. I'm excited to be back here on the All Elite Dirt Sheet post Dynamite on Wednesday. The returning Tim King. Excited to have my partner back. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate everybody who was in the chat. Everybody that was in the room here watching. Thank you so much. I know it's late. It's 1:30 in the morning. 1:30 in the morning here on the East Coast, and I have 43 people in here, which is beautiful. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in. Hit that subscribe button to the Circle Debate. Every single day we have action here on the Circle Debate. We have Dynamite watch along on Wednesday. First of all, we have watch alongs of every single show. We have Raw Dogging with Dom, Friends, and Benefits on Mondays, where we watch Raw. We have the NXT watch along on Tuesdays. Wednesday, we have the Dynamite watch along with the All Elite Dirt Sheet Dynamite post show. Thursdays, we have the Royal Impact TNA watch along. We have on Friday SmackDown watch along. It's always fun on SmackDown watch alongs because the show's been a little ass, but we make it fun. And then this upcoming weekend, we have WrestleMania. So you know there's going to be 2 watch-alongs on WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday. So make sure you hit that subscribe button where the action doesn't stop here on the Circle Debate Network. Hit that like button. Follow the All Elite Dirt Sheet on Instagram at AEW Podcast. There's nothing left to say. It's 1:30 in the morning. I know a lot of people got work tomorrow morning. So thank you so much for joining me tonight here, talking all about AEW Dynasty. I love you all. Stay safe. Stay strong. Stay positive. I appreciate you all for joining here tonight. Have a good night. Peace out, y'all.
Like a